DCM works, we didn't forget about Dre. Did you?
It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as
It makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is because of what it kind of said about art.
That had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
We went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There is a big lesson here to learn about storytelling.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Outriders podcast, official podcast of Digital and Creative Media Works. My name is David, DCM, creative director, lead writer, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben.
Hello.
Hi. What's
Hi.
going on, man?
I'm alright.
That wasn't what I... I said, what's going on, and you said, I'm alright.
Yeah, I'm alright.
Yeah, I'm alright. That's good. Good answer.
That's the proper response.
Fucking Christ. Jesus. What are we talking about this week, Ben?
Gameplay of Doom.
The gameplay of Doom. You kind of spewed that at me a little bit. That was very aggressive.
You've returned. The only flesh and blood to walk between dimensions.
Now, we're talking about the new Doom game.
Doom 2016.
Now, this is technically Doom 4, correct? But they've just called it Doom?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Doom 4.
Because in case people got confused. Because we wouldn't be talking about the first Doom because it's garbage, or the second because it's garbage, or the third because it was hard to play.
I like the first two Doom games. The third one's garbage.
You don't actually like the first Doom game. Everyone thinks they do. Go back and play it. No. Go back and play it, and then come back and we'll talk.
So, I guess... Yeah, so when you go back and play Doom 1, and I guess that is important to talk about, because this game, a lot of people were like, oh, it's a return to form for Doom.
No, incorrect.
It's really not, because
Doom was bad.
Doom wasn't really much.
Okay, I don't want to shit talk it too much before you make your point, but like, it was good at the time, and they did a lot that no one had done.
Yeah.
But people that say
It
they
hasn't
like
aged well.
Doom are wrong, because the new Doom is what, like, I get it, but what they're really saying is that I like the idea of Doom, and that's what the new Doom
this
is.
Doom is.
Yeah, the new
'Cause
one
this
is
Doom
that.
doesn't actually do anything that the first Doom does.
Except let you blow shit up.
Except, like, it's a game about killing demons. And
Yes.
that's about it. And there's... So I picked this game up late. I picked this game up like a week ago. Because I'm a cheap bastard and I
you
wasn't
never
going to
play
pay
anything.
$60 for it. Especially given that it really is a single player game. Like, it has multiplayer, but it sucks.
And you don't like playing with other people. No, sorry, I don't like playing
You
with
don't
other
like
people.
playing with
You
other
love
people.
playing with
I
other
love,
people.
but like, I played, when the Doom beta came out, which was just the multiplayer beta, it sucked. And everyone's just like, oh no, the new Doom sucks.
Why would you want to play Doom with other people?
I don't know. Anyway, so it was this weird thing where, sort of leading up to the release of Doom, even I had the opinion of just like, it's probably not going to be that good, because it's going to be a weird remake, and it's probably just going to be average at best.
Yeah.
It's going to be like the new Duke Nukem. It's going to be like the Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh, jeez.
And like, it was shaping up to be, because, yeah, it used to be Doom 4, and Doom 4 used to be, like, back in like 2012, 13. It was like, they would show footage of Doom 4, and it was this gritty, grey, like, military shooter
It was
thing.
so Call of Duty.
It was exactly. It was basically a Call of Duty game. And all through there's all these interviews with id and Bethesda going back, and they were like, we had this, we wanted to tell this story, we wanted to have this, like, meaningful
Because for people
characters.
for timeline stuff, this was just after Rage came out, pretty much. So they started working
they were
on
like,
Doom
fuck.
4 straight away after Rage, and Rage was okay. I'll say this about Rage. Rage is one of the best.
tech demos ever.
No, it's one of the best corridor shooters ever made, but the rest of it is fucking awful.
Oh yeah,
These-
like
there
the
are
open
sequences-
world stuff.
The sequences in that game where you go through a series of corridors and it's just a straight corridor shooter is some of the best fun I've had in years.
Yeah.
You have a boomerang that you throw that cuts people's heads off. Like, it's amazing. But the problem with that game is that everything else was real hot shit. And for some reason, there are cars. It's like Mad Max, but bad.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of racing that you do for reasons I don't know.
because it's a Borderlands game.
Real bad. So then that was like where they came from going into this
Yeah.
process. So they kind of did the opposite, where they made it real, like, gritty and like...
Yeah, they were like,
Yeah,
oh, we
military.
need to, they were like, we need to follow the trend. We need to make it popular. And we don't really know when it happened, but there was a turning point where they would just thought, you know what? Who cares? Let's just make Doom. Like, they stripped the 4 from the title. They were just like, we're just releasing Doom. And
It seemed like what happened is, and what I'm guessing has happened. I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing one day they had a board meeting and everyone working on the game was like, "Okay, what do we feel?" And everyone was like,
were
"Well,"
just like,
no, it was like, "No, it's
"Nah."
good." It's, it's like, and someone went, I hate it," and
It's
everyone was like,
horrible.
"I hate it also," and
Everyone's
everyone
like,
was like,
"Yeah,
"Yeah,
it's
it's real
horrible."
bad."
Yeah.
And then someone was like, "What if we just made a game where you just punch the shit out of demons?
What if we just kill demons?
What if you just blow shit up and it's
Yeah.
real fun, and then that's all it is?"
What if we just make a game where it's just who cares?
It's
just
just
dumb.
you just get in and you fuck shit up and you have a good time, and it's just real fun, and that's what they did. Like,
Yeah,
fuck,
it's-
it's so much fun.
It's this weird thing where and we've talked about this with The Witcher, where The Witcher 3 specifically, where it's not just like one element of Doom being good. It's all of these combining parts that just like form together into just this ridiculous fucking mess of pure great video gaming.
You know what?
It's really hard to describe because the game has so many elements which are just horrible on paper,
I'm trying to think
but
of
in
what-
execution it works just somehow.
I know what it is. Someone was trying. I was trying to think of a metaphor that someone gave me the other day. They just watched the Unpolished Bliss video that we did.
Right.
And they were,
Shoutouts to that.
yeah, they were talking to me about that. That wasn't supposed to be a plug, but I guess there it is. They were talking to me about the concepts in that video, and they were like, "Yeah, because basically the video is about how sometimes a game with problems can be amazing."
Can be better than a game with no problems.
But something that we've talked about before, as we were saying with The Witcher, is this idea of you can have great gameplay, great story, great gameplay, great narrative, and great soundtracks and stuff like that, but that doesn't matter if they don't integrate properly.
yeah,
And so what Doom is a perfect integration of a bunch of things that shouldn't work.
that really
Doom-
should not work at
Doom,
all.
Doom is, basically for me, Doom is like on a Saturday night when you get home at 8 p.m., you haven't eaten all day, you're drunk, and you're like, fuck, I don't have anything in the house. All I've got is frozen chips, like potato chips, salsa, cheese, guacamole, and
Let's go,
jalapenos.
nachos.
And you're like, fucking chip nachos, and you make potato chip nachos.
Yeah.
And it's the worst thing in the world for you, but
goddamn,
the
it's
whole
good.
time you're eating it, you just are like, this is the best thing I've ever done with my
Yeah.
life, and this is the right thing for me, and I'm not ashamed of this. And that's what, like, this game is just, it's that you get home and you're like, fucking potato chip nachos, and you have it, and it's, potato chip is like a crisp for some people. I mean, hot chips.
Hot
Fries.
chips.
French fries.
I-
It's a French
there's
fry
like 3 different
nacho.
words for it.
It's a Saturday night drunk French fry nachos game where you get
You know
to
those-
it.
You know what they call them now?
What?
Loaded chips.
Oh.
Or if you're from Canada, it's just poutine.
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 That sounds like putang,
Poutine.
which is vagina.
That's gross.
Yeah, there's a lot of gross words for
So-
GG. But no, I guess it's one of those games that doesn't take itself seriously at all, but in doing so, takes its premise seriously.
Oh, it's
Right?
Yeah, it's this weird double take where none of the story matters. Like, it's just so tongue in cheek with the premise. Like, you literally you start the game and you're strapped into this like demonic altar, and you see your hands and you don't see your legs because you don't have any. And your character just like rips. There's like demons around you, and you're like, "Oh no!"
A demon walks toward you, you rip up one of your arms, grab its head, and just
And
break
just
its jaw
fucking,
across the
like-
bench.
Yeah, you just curb stomp his face.
I
onto
almost,
the bench.
I almost squealed with delight when I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
they're doing it! Like,
And
it's
then-
so good!"
And then literally like 2 seconds later, you sort of break your other arm out, you jump out of the
You pick up
fucking
a gun.
thing, you pick up a gun, and the game stops.
And there are demons, like immediately.
There are literally 0 cutscenes from that point to the end of the game.
Mm.
And there's some points where they take away control for effect, but you never leave your character.
You never have to stop to learn story. There are points where you can, if you want, where there's like holograms talking.
Yeah.
But they're always short, they're always brief, and they're always like, they're in and they're done, and you can just leave.
They do this really cool thing where later in the game there are actually stages where you can't do anything, but
Mhm.
they do them in a way they're kind of like the hospital scene from Hotline Miami,
Yep.
where it's a very like distinctively different part of the game. It's when you meet. Spoiler alert for this game, not that it has a story. When
Yeah.
you end up meeting...
Also, as always, if the name of the thing is in the episode, we're going to spoil it.
Yeah, so it's later on when you end up meeting Samuel Hayden, who is a robot.
Bleep, bleep.
He completely takes away control.
Yeah.
Because it's revealed that he basically owns you. Like, you are his bitch.
Yeah.
And they play this really cool thing where throughout the entire sort of first half of the game, Doom Guy doesn't give a fuck. he's just so fucking angry.
There's a great
for just
moment
no reason.
at the start where one of the doctors is it Samuel
That's
Hayden that's
Samuel
talking?
Hayden,
Yeah, he starts talking to you about like what he needs you to do, and you literally pick up the monitor
Grab the
and
monitor,
you throw
just
it.
throw it across the room.
Oh
Like,
no, that's not the best bit. The best bit is you go into the lift. I've never been so happy. So you get into this lift, and he's like expositioning to you as you go up the lift. And
he has
Doom
this
Guy,
line.
and he's like talking about
he's like this line he said. He's just like, we've been doing this for the greater good of humanity.
and it was worth it or whatever.
Yeah.
And Doom Guy like looks down at his hands and he's like cracking his knuckles and like getting his
Well,
fists
he
ready.
looks down and there's a dead guy on the
well,
corner of the.
he looks at the dead guy in the lift, right? And then he cracks his knuckles, and the guy's still talking. And then he shrugs. You can't see him shrug, but you can tell he's shrugging.
Yeah.
And then he just punches the speaker, and it
just-
shatters into pieces.
And it's smash
the
cuts
elevator
to the
doors.
title screen.
Yeah, it
Well, no,
smash cuts to the
smash
title
cuts
screen.
to the title
Oh,
screen.
and then it cuts back. The doors begin to slide open, and as they slide open, the score powers in.
Powers in with these like two.
Like boom, and then you cock the fucking shotgun. The doors slam open, and it's hell. And I fucking died. I was like, I was so hard. Like I've never been like so video game hard in my life.
Yeah, so I played.
Oh, I got fucking goosebumps just saying that. Like,
I
fuck,
played the
it's
demo
good.
a while before I played the game, and I didn't know like how the game started when I played the demo.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, "Oh, the demo's out. I'm gonna play it." Fuck me! Like that introduction is just so. There's also a bit earlier where the monitor where Samuel Hayden comes up. You're like tip tapping on it, and there's like a warning sign, and like it's just so ridiculous. So you're in like a fairly like high tech facility,
Mm-hmm.
and this monitor is coming up with an error message which reads "Demonic invasion in progress." Just the ridiculousness that this company is aware that at some point they may get a demonic invasion.
And they programmed in that.
And they
kind of-
programmed them the error message, and like there's like automated voices going on where it's like demonic invasion is at
So good.
100%.
Yeah.
You're like, what the
You're like,
fuck?
what
are
does
we doing?
70% look like?
Yeah, like,
it's
what is-
so good.
Yeah, there's literally stages where you go where they'll give you this big open area and you have to take out those gore nests, which are basically just like, give me a bunch of demons to kill.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
There's 4 of them. You kill one of them. It's just like demonic levels at 75%. You're like,
what the fuck?
How the fuck do you know?
Oh, it's God, it's so good.
So, like, the story as a whole is it's super tongue-in-cheek. The game doesn't give a flying fuck. Doom Guy doesn't give a flying fuck.
But I think
But at the same time...
in doing so, it shows how much of a fuck they give.
Well, it's really interesting because there's actually... The story itself is fairly run-of-the-mill. There's basically 3 characters. 4 if you just include demons. There's you, Samuel Hayden, Olivia Pierce, and that's about it. Then just hell in general. Spooky. And it's really just the story played by these 3 characters. You have you, who's you're just
Angry
the
Doom guy.
Deus Ex. You're just literally like a dude who came from hell, who's very good at killing demons.
You are the badass guy that they pray to when you're asleep
because you're that
because
powerful.
you're that fucking badass. And then when you come out, you just mow through these
You
demons.
just fly through them. You have Samuel Hayden, who is just the angry scientist, who's really annoyed that you're just destroying his shit more than anything.
He's
and
like,
then-
stop punching monitors.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's a bit where Samuel's just like, you have to deactivate these Argent energy towers so that we can do some stuff that you don't care about.
Yeah.
And you get to the first terminal for it, and Doom Guy's kind of looking at it.
Does he
There's
just
like
put his
this-
hand through it? Like,
Yeah, it's like this sort of glowing pillar, and Samuel Hayden's like, he's like, all right, to deactivate it, go up to
he
the.
just goes.
And Doom Guy looks at his head while he's explaining it, and he curls up his fist and just punches the fucking.
fuck, I love it.
And Samuel Hayden's just like, what the fuck did you just do that for? It's just like, you don't understand. Like, this energy we have solves the human energy crisis. Like, you can't just go around destroying it. And you get to the second one, and he's like, all right, listen. You have to fucking disable it.
He just punches
Don't
it again,
destroy it.
doesn't
He
he?
immediately just kicks it.
Oh fuck. Oh.
And it's just, there's so much contempt that
Well, the whole
Doom
game
Guy
is
has.
the whole game is a middle finger to video games, right? In some ways,
It's a middle finger to a lot of things.
so here's where I think it really shines in sort of knowing what it is, right? So one of the best part, and so I love the Halo franchise. That's no secret. I don't count Halo 5 because no one
Right.
counts Halo 5, but
The grenade throwing animation is basically ripped straight from Halo.
yeah.
It's really weird.
Halo is one of those games that I just love, and it's
Yeah.
fun, and it's dumb, and it is what it is. And they got too serious. That's why their later games aren't as good. But one of the things they did in Halo 4 that was really compelling is they took their premise of your Master Chief who's like the best Spartan,
Yeah.
right? And he's just this machine of death that they send in to fix all their problems.
Yeah.
Right? And he's also a war hero at this point. Like you fought in like 5 wars or whatever, and you've killed thousands of Covenant, you've destroyed 2 Halo rings, and you're like this fucking godlike character at this point.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh, well, what if he was basically just a god? So then you turn out to be this Forerunner descendant kind of thing. And it's this cool way that they do it, and it makes a lot of sense in the story. But something they do incredibly well is they, instead of trying to explain away why you're so badass and you're like this guy that can't be stopped, they're like, oh, well, you've always been like that. And he's always been this character that can't be stopped, and it's
Yeah.
great. And one of the things that they do really well in Halo 4 that they also do well in Doom is they go, if you're playing this character who is a fucking badass, who's going to come in and just destroy shit,
Yeah.
people should treat you like that, right? So there's a scene in Halo 4 where Chief is going to rescue a bunch of people, bunch of Marines or whatever, and he comes into the room, like, so he physically rips open these doors because he's that strong. He fucking rips open these doors and he walks in, and one of the guys goes, holy fuck, it's the Chief. And you're like, yeah, that's how everyone should fucking greet
Yeah.
me. And the whole game of Doom is like, you're a fucking badass motherfucker
Yeah.
with a big ass gun, and you come into a fucking area, and it's like you just destroy shit.
You're running around with like 6 guns.
Oh, fuck.
Literally, one of the guns you get later in the game, it's sitting on like a mounted turret. He just comes on, he just picks it up and puts it just puts it away, and you just
Amazing.
like sure, and you just pull out the shotgun.
Amazing.
It's that's sort of the narrative side. There's like 3 pillars of Doom that I want to sort of go over.
Mhm.
So the gameplay side.
Mhm.
Doom is literally just a game about going into a room, killing a bunch of demons, and then going into the next room and killing
Yeah.
a bunch of demons. On paper, it's such a bad fucking, like, game flow. Like, there's nothing, you're like, well, why? Like, there's this really good interview that we
It
looked
sounds super boring.
where they were talking about having playtesters in, and one of the playtesters came in and he was just like, why am I killing these demons? What's my reason for? And the reason is just,
You're a Doom guy.
you're the Doom guy, and
Yeah.
they're fucking demons.
You're the Doom guy, and he loves killing demons.
That's what you do. You literally, your mission in life is just to kill demons.
But how clever is that you like it? Because the player like it. I love there's no pretense. It's like Doom guy loves killing demons, and as a player, you're like, I love killing demons.
we all just love killing
Everyone
demons.
loves killing shit. It's so good.
So they had this idea where it's just like, okay, we just want to kill demons. So how do we make that fun? Well, they do a really good job of, and pretty much everyone's seen it, the gameplay flow of going from sort of, it's taking this idea of, well, you just shoot things until their health goes to 0.
Yep.
And it turns it into this almost mini game where instead of just shooting things until they die, you're managing your own resources through killing things.
Yes.
So the
'cause
way
you
that
get-
works is
you
you
get.
have-
Do you get ammo and health from? You get ammo and health from doing a specific kind of kill.
So
right?
there's 2 types of kills. You can just kill something, and if you just kill something, it may drop health. It may drop a little bit of ammo.
And that's with a gun.
Most of the time it kills. Most of the time it'll just drop a little bit of health or nothing. Usually nothing. If you get someone to a low enough health, they go into this sort of stunned phase, and you can just run up to them and you press a button, and it goes into this really quick, snappy animation of you just
You
beating
just
the
belt
fuck
the
out
shit
of
out of them.
Yeah, like if they're like a small demon. Fuck that up a lot. If they're like a small demon little thing, you'll just run up to them and just punch them in the face.
Or if they're against the wall, you'll just push them back and then
Yeah.
put your foot
It's
through them.
really,
like,
there's a lot of like contextual stuff. If you're like in the air and you're like jumping above
Oh,
them, you'll
fuck.
just like
the
stomp on
aerial
them.
ones are amazing.
Yeah, and like some of the bigger demons, you literally just like climb onto them and just like rip their heart out and shove it down their mouth. Or
There was
something.
one where I came up to someone from behind and I hit the button, and Doom guy the animations are so slick as well. But he
Yeah.
pauses, looks at his fist, and then puts it through the straight through.
Yeah.
and then he looks around the thing at his fist and then pulls it back out.
Yeah.
And it happens in a split second or whatever. But they're so
There's so much sort of emotion in the
there
glory
is.
kills. Yeah.
There's so much and there's so much rage and fun.
Yeah.
And it becomes this game of like it's so weird because in a shooter typically you would want to
You're
stand
like,
behind
low health.
cover,
Oh, I need to
right?
run away.
but in Doom you need to get in. You need
Yeah.
to like be punching people to death to get your health back.
Doing glory kills gets you health back, and later in the game they give you a chainsaw, which has it has like ammo, and it's got like a gas system.
Yeah.
And so you'll have like 4 charges, and like little piddly demons will take like 1 charge, but bigger demons will take multiple charges.
Yeah.
And it's like a 1-hit kill. So like sometimes you just like, I don't really want to fight that, so you just chainsaw him.
Yeah.
And chainsawing gives you only ammo.
Okay.
So when you chainsaw something, it just spills ammo, and it basically refills your entire stock.
So it's a good way to get your bullets back.
Yeah, so you get this flow where, because some of the fights just go for ages.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the fights are just long, and you get to the end of it, you're like, I have no ammo for anything. So you're like, chainsaw time. You pull out the chainsaw and you just fucking kill the first thing you see.
So it makes the bit, because that's a hard part in game design, is like what happens when you run out of resources.
Yeah.
Usually if it's
You
The
just
Last
die.
of Us, you flail around till you
Yeah.
succeed. But
In
Doom,
this, it's like, no, you just keep going forward.
the developer was like, oh, when you run out of ammo in Doom, you pull out a fucking
You
chainsaw.
pull out a chainsaw, you gut the
You pull out
first
the
thing you
funnest
see,
weapon in video games.
and then you pull out, then you just have full ammo again.
Like, conceptually, it's fucking
It's
genius.
super smart.
A 12-year-old me would have never played anything else.
No.
Like,
It's-
and you know what? You would have been like, oh, Skyrim's coming out. And I would have been like, I don't care. I'm still replaying Doom.
And it's the crazy thing where because I've been playing through the game, I've basically nearly finished it. Because it's sort of, I think it's about 10 hours long.
Yeah.
And I got stuck on this one part, and I just kept getting fucking nailed. I was like, what the fuck am I doing wrong?
Uh-huh.
Like, it was this really big arena. I was like, I'm being really smart. Like, I'm using the environment to my advantage. Like, I'm getting in and out. I'm getting good hits off. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? So I was just like, fuck it. So I just restarted, turned the volume to max, and just didn't release the W key. And just fucking constantly fight. And I finished it in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, one thing that I learned really...
I was just like, how the fuck does that work? Like, how does this game work where the moment you try to play smart, you die? But as
Because-
soon as you just put your brain on the counter and just like hold down
Start-
M1 and just
Fuck
empty your
cunts.
ammo munitions, you do perfectly fine.
because it's supposed to be fun. Like,
it's just this weird thing where, and like, not only that is it, like, dying in any game is annoying, but dying in this game, you're like, okay, whatever, you don't go back that far, it'll put you at the start of that sort of arena you were fighting in. But it gives you this weird sense of like, alright, I know what's coming, let's try that again. And like 9 times out of 10, the first time you do an arena and if you die, you'll be there for like a few minutes. You'll be like, oh, this is really hard. I'm really low life and I can't kill anything. Or like you end up dying.
yeah.
And the second time, you'll just blast through it. Because you'll be like, yeah, this is going to spawn here. So I just pull out the rocket launcher and just like spam it with rockets.
Yeah.
And then it's going to spawn over there. So I'm just going to like pull out the chainsaw because I need ammo. It creates this really weird sense of flow where like you'll finish an encounter and you'll be like, or you'll finish killing off like a wave of enemies. You're like, yeah, there's going to be more. So I'm just going to, I'm going to be ready for more because there's going to be more. And then more comes. You're like, yeah, I'm ready.
One of it's interesting. It's this idea. I think it's taking away, because it's not a strategy game. What they wanted was
not
this,
at all.
what they wanted was this game where you come in and you play as Doom Guy and you do Doom Guy stuff and you get 12-year-old like satisfaction from beating the fuck out of demons. And you know what is a 12-year-old satisfaction thing? Is just running through a fucking room and blasting the crap out of everything.
Well, it's a weird thing where, like,
know?
at the start of the game, you'll be facing just regular small imps and the little shitty guys that you can literally just like melee and then immediately
which
glory
is
kill.
so satisfying.
They're just health packs.
Yeah.
It's this weird thing where like sort of early on in the game they'll like attack you with one of these like really big buff dudes and that like charge you and you're like, how the fuck do I kill that? And you'll be like flailing around, it'll do a bunch of damage to you and you'll be like, oh, this is painful and terrifying, and like you'll finally beat it. You'll be like, man, that was like difficult. And then like it's the, they do it in a lot of these games where it'll be like, oh, here's this new enemy type, and then they'll slowly win you onto that enemy type.
Yeah.
And like for a while that'll be like the big bad boss.
Mhm.
Doom will be like, it'll give you one of them and you'll be like, oh man, that was really hard, and then immediately give you 2. Just instantaneously, next wave, have 2 of them. You're like, I barely killed the first one. And it's because they don't pussyfoot the sort of ramping up and not really difficulty, because you kind of just get better at the same time. By the end of the game, you're facing like 5 of those dudes at once, along with 3 of these other guys that you thought were a boss, and then like 2 more of the other guy that again you thought were a boss. Like all of these demons that at the start of the game you're like, oh, that's like a boss demon, right?
But then
they won't throw that
but
off.
you
the
become
game.
such a
And
badass.
it becomes the regular enemy.
Yeah, it's so I like that. It's so cool.
Yeah, like one of the bosses, you beat it, and then again, they throw two of the same boss at you,
Yeah.
and you're like, you fucking kidding me?
I think it dodges that scalability issue. It dodges like the Dragon Ball Z problem, right? Which is where when everyone powers up, if the bad guys power up, the good guys have to power up, and then
Yeah.
next season the bad guys power up again, then the good guys have to power up again, and then suddenly everyone is a Super Saiyan God who nothing matters, and you can like, or it's like the Naruto issue where it keeps happening until everyone can fly and is basically a
it's
wizard.
actually this weird thing where like you don't, because there's no real stat-based power-ups in the game. I mean, there are upgrade systems. There's a few.
Well, that you can do gun attachments and
There's
stuff.
gun attachments. Those gun attachments can get like upgrades, which are usually more mechanical upgrades. There is just a straight up. You have health, armor, and ammo, and each of them has like 5 points, and you just fill up those 5 points, and that doesn't take long.
Yeah.
But it's this weird thing where like by the end of it, you're like, man, I really had issues with that specific enemy, and now I just mow through them. It's the kind of thing where it's not just a case of, oh, my guns are doing more damage. It's, I have more guns. I've got
I've got
ammo. on
7
those
more guns.
Yeah, so it's like by the end of the game, I was using like the grenade launcher on imps on the shotgun just because it was fast.
Yeah.
Because like I just can't be bothered to deal with
Like,
you
I ain't
right
got
now.
the time.
Just hold this. See you later. And like I don't need you for health anymore because I can get health from this big dude because I can kill him just as fast.
Yeah.
So hold my grenade for a sec.
Yeah, hold this thing that's gonna blow up and destroy
Yeah.
you.
And the game just doesn't let up.
See, that's such a hard thing to nail too, because that's like I mean, scalability in video games is a really hard thing to get right. Because, you know, if you're talking about something like, we use Assassin's Creed as an example because we were talking about it in the car, but like one of the things they did really poorly for a while, they really, really had trouble in Brotherhood toward the end of the game is like, every enemy in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood you would kill by hitting B and then X.
Right.
And then if you got your timing right and you held X in the right direction toward another enemy, you would then chain kills.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most rewarding systems because you would just be like butchering through like
Yeah.
dozens of guys. But what they did is to change it up, you would have enemies where instead of hitting X, you'd have to hit A and then X.
Ugh.
And then other enemies would be A and then Y.
Right.
But what that does, it doesn't like scale up in difficulty. It just means that if you don't see someone, it's going to break your combo and it feels cheap.
Yeah.
Whereas like something that the new Doom game does incredibly well that I've seen several times watching people play it, and that documentary that we watched is that it's not just scalability of difficulty, it's scalability of like chaos. Like the game becomes more chaotic and you become better at controlling it.
Yeah. Like the world just gets more and more ridiculous as you go on. Like shit just happens and your character's just like, yeah, that's fine. Like I went to hell and came back. Yeah.
It was
sure.
good.
And then they sent me back again.
Yeah.
Sure. Whatever.
It's cool. I got this t-shirt. It's
Yeah.
real good.
Yeah, I got a little souvenir from hell.
Yeah.
Um
Got a little sweet keyring.
I think one of the ways they managed to keep the game not just like completely overwhelming, and this is a really sick segue, is the soundtrack.
Oh
How much
god, I'm
time do we
good.
have left? We have time.
You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, so this is really interesting with the soundtrack because you look at like the original Doom, and the original Doom was built on cheesy 90s heavy metal ripoff tracks. Like all of the songs in the original Doom, you can basically find like a Pantera or a Metallica song that has an identical riff.
Yep.
Like they were just like, yeah, we're just gonna steal heavy metal. And in a lot of interviews with the composer for this Doom, who is a Queenslander, I might add,
Amazing.
fucking Mick Gordon, bloody legend.
Represent Mick.
He's done a lot
Also,
of stuff.
how much of an
He's-
Australian name is Mick?
Mick Gordon?
Fuck.
Yeah, like bloody Queensland legend. He's in a lot of games. He did sort of Wolfenstein, he did a bunch of Need for Speed games, so he's sort of video game.
He's real good at that.
Yeah, he's good at, video game music. And in a lot of interviews that he's done with people, he's said that the first thing they told him was no metal. Like at the start. And it's this weird thing where you're like, first of all, it's Doom. Like, how can you not have metal? Second of all, the game is full of it. Like, they didn't follow that advice at all.
No.
And I think the process they did with the music is and I think this is why the soundtrack is as good as it is. Because they didn't go, well, it's Doom, it has to have metal, and then throw in some generic metal soundtrack that you see in action films. They didn't go, it needs to be metal, let's grab the Fast and Furious soundtrack. They went, okay, no metal. It's like, okay, well then what is this game? It's a fucking blood dripping industrial sort of like really fast paced and heavy action game. It's like, okay, how do we do that without just going metal? Well, they created the soundtrack, which is just so unique and so just like heart-wrenching.
It sounds like it sounds like Doom.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
So
where, like,
weird.
You go back to like when they sort of released the soundtrack, I really hated it because I was like, it's too slow. It doesn't feel like Doom. Like Doom was always meant to be cheesy metal. This thing's kind of just like grungy and noisy. But when you're playing the game, you don't even really notice it. It just sits in the back of your mind. This constant like thumping music, and like it's the.
It makes you feel like Doom Guy. It amps you up,
Oh
and
my God.
you get so furious, and you're like, I'm gonna kill some fucking demons.
And the best part is that the way they use the soundtrack, and again, this is how they make it sort of the game feel doable, is that they give you a lot of time between like sort of these combat arenas. Like a combat encounter will happen, and then once you've killed everything, the music will very deliberately dial down and just turn into this sort of very atmospheric, sort of chilled, like slightly more chilled song. And it's at that stage you're just like, fuck. The music that was just playing, which was really just sitting in your mind subconsciously, was fucking hectic.
Yeah.
And it's this weird thing where they play with the soundtrack so well, where they dial it up and down, and they give you pieces here and there, and then right when you think you're like, okay, you know, I'm in a new area, it's just like you're walking around, and then like the music starts, and you're just like, oh fuck,
like, here it comes.
Oh shit, here we go.
Yeah.
And it's this really good thing where they don't just start the music the same time that they spawn something. They'll sort of, you know, they'll ease you into the area, and you'll be like, all right, this looks like a combat room.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, this is a big open space full of power-ups and stuff. This is probably a combat room.
And you hit a guitar slide in, and you're like,
yeah,
oh.
you're just like, oh shit. And it's even like, it's just really hard to describe, but even when you have just like, okay, it's just generic thrash metal, they still do a really good job of differentiating the different parts of the game. Because when the sort of start of the game is all just like this industrial, you're on Mars, it's all sort of, you know, pipes and fucking metal and all that stuff. So the music sort of reflects that. And then when you end up going to hell, because of course you go to hell, they keep like the thrashing bass line, but they just add this layer of like really sort of like foreboding sort of like choir vocals, which is just creepy as fuck, because it's this really crazy dissonance where you're hearing this like really like high sort of like sort of, you know, like that like shrilling sort of choir sound, while it's being sort of like underdone by just this thrashing like fucking 7-string guitar. And it's just off-putting. Like, it's absolutely disgusting.
Deeply upsetting.
It's the kind of soundtrack where I don't think you can listen to the soundtrack on its own without playing the game, because it's so deeply ingrained.
Because it's made with the game.
Like
it's not made for the game, it's made with the game.
Yeah, like if you want a taste of what the music is like look up, like really the best example is just listen to the Doom theme, but the new one. Yeah. So like listen to the old Doom theme, it's just like the cheesy like this really dumb, fast, like stupid metal MIDI tune. And then you listen to the new one and it's like half the speed. It's like toned down like 3 octaves.
Yep.
And like that's really the best example of like what the music sounds like. But you can't just go like, oh, what's the Doom soundtrack like? And then just like listen to the soundtrack and be like, okay, it sounds like this.
You gotta play the game.
You really have to play it.
And that's because the integration is so well done.
So on point.
I was playing it on the speakers when I was playing the demo, and when you first get out of the chair and the music kicks in or whatever, as you break the guy's face across the bench or whatever, and it kicks in, and it's just this, it like sits in your guts.
Yeah.
Like the music just sits in your stomach as you play it.
It's like, it's just, I don't know what it is, but you just lose yourself in the music. And then you finish playing and you're like, oh shit, I've had this.
It's been 8 hours.
It's like 1 a.m. and I've been smashing this shit through my speakers for hours.
And I've been grinning like an idiot the whole time.
And I've been smiling the entire time.
It's so good.
The whole game of Doom is, it's the kind of thing where, you know, like we had games like Duke Nukem Forever, like these sort of like action franchises where you're like, oh, like Duke Nukem is about being a badass and running around and like, and like, oh, fucking bitches and like
fucking bitches getting dollar,
but like, and that was always like, oh, that was like the masculine dream. And then you have Doom where it's just like, No, like we don't have to have all of that dumb.
It can just be
Pandering.
fun. This can be for anyone.
Yeah, it can like this can be for anyone, and it's just about hitting the notes and just like killing demons.
It's so good.
And it's the kind of thing where like I'm so glad that this game exists because it means we could easily get more like it, and it means we could have, I wouldn't say a return to form because really old FPSs were never really on the same level as this.
Yeah.
Because it was back then it was different. Like it wasn't really, it wasn't the same kind of art form that we have now where like people care about soundtrack, like you have really good composers, people don't particularly care about story, but we're doing interesting things with story when we have to. This game is a single player game. It needs a narrative drive. It needs a reason.
Yep.
The reason is just 90% I'm going to kill demons.
Because it's fun.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
have these gameplay ideas of just like, let's take the stock standard arena fighter where you just fight a bunch of enemies in an arena and turn it into something that has these peaks and valleys of just like action, and then you sort of, you hit F, you do a glory kill, and you take like that 1 second break. And it's those culminations of 1 second breaks combined with the fact that everything else is insanely hectic that makes the game feel like more fleshed out than it really is.
Yeah.
And it's just greater than the sum of its pieces.
Correct.
And I fucking love it.
That's probably a good place to end, I think. There you go. That's 35 minutes of us gushing about Dim. Look, Ben, as always, where can people find us?
I don't know.
It's the question. It's
DCM
the
works.
elusive question.
DCM.works.
Yep, that's our website. We're on Twitter. We're at DCM_works. We're on Facebook. We're on
DCM
all those
Social.
all those places. Yep. If you want to find
There
us
is a
there.
Twitter account that I've just realized is still there. DCM Works Social.
I
That's
don't
not
know who's-
us.
that's
that
not-
was us.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
You might
I'll have to get rid of that.
account.
I didn't know that was still there. Probably an off-air conversation, but it's too late now. Don't follow them. Follow DCM_works. This episode is, as always, powered by DigitalOcean. They are one of my favorite companies. They sent me this lovely email a few weeks ago
that's
thanking
nice.
us for the way that we talk about them, because they're like, you guys are so positive, and I'm really glad that you like the service, and we love having you be part of our
That's
advertising
nice. Well, we
program.
love
So
you
that's
too.
yeah. So and they're great. They're a web hosting service. You can set up an SSD in about 2 minutes. It's really easy to use. It's really affordable. And if you use our link, which is dcm.works/ocean, you get $10 of credit, which is about 2 months of hosting.
Sweet.
And if I can use them, anyone can.
Yeah, 'cause
So
you're a real
I'm
dumbass.
fucking moron. So yeah, they're great. We love them. Make sure you check them out if you do. Helps out the show. Helps you out, and you get fucking $10.
helps.
Helps. I am at DCM I Hate Pie, and
I'm at Literal Citrus.
we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, it was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as
It makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
We went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There's a big lesson here to learn about storytelling.